Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/spookshow. Then go over to morbidlybeautiful.com as we are now part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcasting Network.
Attention all campers.
The All-American Spook Show welcomes you to enroll in Camp Spook Show this summer. We have activities for all ages, including archery, canoeing, swimming, and
Running for your lives.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the All-American Spook Show podcast. I'm Josh, and I'm joined here with Donny.
Hey. And
the Professor Smoke.
What's up?
And the reason we're laughing is because of the movie that we have to watch today. I guess at its root, we just have to blame Austin. Austin Trunick, the author of the Cannon Film Guide Volume 1 and 2, which is out now at your better book dealers, Amazon, so on. Because we reached out to him, since we're in the heart of Camp Spook Show, to help us find a summer camp movie that Cannon Films put out. And not even he could come up with one. In his vast, deep knowledge of the Cannon Films catalog, he couldn't think of one, couldn't find one. So he basically gave us two options, Hot Chili and Hot Resort, that were close enough, for within spitting distance of a summer camp movie, right? It's close enough. We'll just go with it. So we just kind of did we flip a coin? What the fuck did we do? I don't forgot how we came to the conclusion. Like, let's do Hot Chili instead of Hot Resort. I guess we just took a straw poll.
I think it was a consensus. We all just said, Hot Chili, yeah. I think I Chili.
Yeah, because it wasn't enough to do a wheel spin.
Yeah, it was just two movies. So I think we just kind of took a straw poll and we landed on Hot Chili. But we'll never know if Hot Resort was any better than this, but I doubt it.
No, we'll eventually get to Hot Resort.
Well, we'll get to it all, right? But
the only reason I picked Hot Chili is because I do like a good bowl of chili. So just the title alone, that's all I went by.
And I was a big fan of I was a big fan of the later seasons of Mama's Family, and when I saw Bubba was in this, I had to pick it. So, so I guess that's how we landed here. But, so, just for argument's sake, we're going to blame Austin for this. Because otherwise, we may have found something else. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we already broke our own rule with the Camp Spook Show thing just for this one. So why we broke it for this, God knows. But here we are. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today on our latest Cannon Fodder. Before we get into it, I will mention also, Will is not with us. He's on assignment. He had some stuff he had to go do, so we will get his thoughts on the steaming pile of hot chili for next chance we get. So hopefully in the next episode we'll get his thoughts and his cannonball rating. But anyways, before we get deep into it, two things. Number one, we are a spoiler-filled podcast, so if you have not seen Hot Chili, then you should be thanking the Lord thy God. But other than that, if for some reason you want to watch it, hit pause now, go watch it. It's free on YouTube. If that's any selling point for you, then come on back, listen to us talk about it. So there's that. Also, if you want to contact us, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of complaints, or you should be sending us money, really, for like sitting through this. That's what we should get.
We're just spoiling it for them, so they don't have to.
Well, in that case, you should go to patreon.com/AASpookshow and dedicate your hard-earned dollars to the to the cause here, so we can spit out more hits, such as Hot Chili. But also, if you've got any comments or anything, you can email us at allamericanspookshow@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Slasher app, Instagram, TikTok, all the usual socials by searching for All American Spook Show. We have our YouTube channel where every Wednesday night, live at 9 p.m. East, we do Deadline Horror News. And then, of course, we have our TeePublic page where we have logoed merchandise, other cool designs for you to purchase, face masks, T-shirts, all kinds of random stuff, mugs, pillows. Go check that out. The links to all these things are down in the show notes. There's a Linktree link. You should be able to find what you're looking for there. You click on that and it should take you there. So yeah, without any further build up, like this really needs any kind of hype, really. We'll go ahead and toss to the trailer for Hot Chili.
You and me are going to have some real fun.
Why would 4 teenage boys
think of it as a great adventure?
Spend their summer working at a sleepy Mexico resort?
I know about these places, you guys. Welcome to paradise. Are you married, ma'am?
Oh, just shut up.
Is it for love?
I'm in love.
For beauty? For stimulation of the mind? Or is it for stimulation?
This place is full of crazy women.
I'm not going to sleep in there.
Hot Chili, where men can be men.
You're no here on vacation. You're here to work.
You pervert!
Come on, you guys. This isn't funny anymore.
I don't believe this. Nobody likes me. I told you never to speak to me again. I believe in kind of an exchange of energy between two human beings.
My God.
Did you play any instruments?
I love the organ.
I will give you your first lesson free.
You're all disgusting!
Boy, if my mother could see me now.
Hot Chili. Sometimes a little spice is all the variety you need.
I love hot chili.
Hot Chili.
All right, so there you go. That's the trailer for Hot Chili. So
yeah, you basically watched the movie. Congratulations.
That was quote unquote the best parts right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but before we dive into it and do our usual background information, we're gonna let Austin, since he's the one that put this plight on us, we're gonna let him do some of the heavy lifting today. So we talked to him earlier and we got his thoughts and some background information from him. So I'm going to go ahead and play that now.
Hello, Austin Trunick here, author and B-movie historian. I am here to talk about the 1985 Golden Globus sex comedy Hot Chili. If you'll allow me, I would like to read an excerpt from my book, The Cannon Film Guide Volume 2, which describes a certain movie covered therein. 4 young men, a nerd, a player, his sidekick, and their chunky friend get jobs at a Caribbean resort. Rather than take their duties seriously, the boys are more interested in trying to get laid. Fortunately for them, nearly every woman who checks into their hotel is either a bombshell bimbo or some kind of sex maniac. Standing in their way is their buzzkill of a boss, a short-tempered taskmaster hell-bent on running a tight ship. Hijinks ensue, body jokes are made, and many, many, many women appear topless. But our hero finds true love in the end. Now, what I read to you was not a description of the film Hot Chili. I was actually describing another movie released by Cannon just a few months earlier, somewhat confusingly titled Hot Resort. Neither of these are to be confused with Hot Bubblegum, which is the title Cannon released their third lemon popsicle sex comedy under in the United States. Now, going back to the description I read for the movie Hot Resort, you could essentially take that same paragraph, swap out the location from the Caribbean to Mexico, and it would almost exactly apply to Hot Chili. Only Cannon, under the steadfast leadership of Menachem Golan and Yoram Globus, could pretty much release the exact same movie twice in the period of a few months, with completely different casts, but largely the same premise. Now, normally I would wait to give my thoughts on the movie until the very end of these segments, just to string along the drama, but I won't skirt around it this time. Hot Chili is not a great movie. It's certainly not among the better teen sex comedies of the 1980s, a bar which is already lower than many other genres. It's not even one of the better teen sex comedies released by Cannon, but it is a Cannon movie, and I do feel some guilt for having inflicted this upon the poor Spookshow crew. So, fortunately, the backstory behind the movie is interesting. Hot Chili arrived at the nadir of the teen sex comedy boom that kind of took fire in the late 70s with movies like Animal House and Meatballs, arguably peaked around 1982 with the release of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Porky's, and Last American Virgin, and then suffered a long, agonizingly slow death until movies like American Pie and their ilk briefly revitalized the genre in the late 1990s. Hot Chili takes a lot of cues from the movies that came before it, but in particular it owes a lot to Lemon Popsicle, the 1978 Israeli sex comedy that was Golden Globe's biggest international hit before they purchased Cannon. That movie had pretty much made money everywhere it played. Everywhere, that is, except the United States, which is why one of the first orders of business Golden Globus undertook in Hollywood was remaking the movie in English and calling that film The Last American Virgin. Meanwhile, while the Go-Go Boys were busy taking America by storm, they were continuing to pump out Lemon Popsicle sequels in their native Hebrew, repeating the same formula over and over and over again, and release them across Europe to pretty resounding success. This formula for these nudity-filled movies about sex-crazed teen boys was so ubiquitous with the Lemon Popsicle movies that within canon, both Hot Resort and Hot Chili were referred to as Lemon Popsicle movies. Not as in they were part of that series, but that's how the company referred to that style of comedy. Hot Chili actually stars one of the leads from the Lemon Popsicle remake, Last American Virgin, Joe Rubo, who plays the lovably chunky Arnie. For the most part, he actually redoes a scene from Last American Virgin with Louisa Moritz, who plays the nymphomaniac Chi-Chi. Horror fans will also recognize her husband in this movie, who's played by Robert Zadar from Maniac Cop. Although the directorial duties on Hot Chili are credited to William Sachs, director of Galaxina and The Incredible Melting Man and so many other movies, Sachs himself claims that he directed very little of it. This is where the Cannon fun comes in. You'll notice that the screenplay is credited to Joseph Goldman, which is a pseudonym for Cannon's head honcho himself, Menachem Golan. Menachem actually had Sachs come out to his house to co-write the movie, but largely wound up dictating scenes himself and having the director write them down. Sachs hoped that he'd be able to just toss out Menachem's ideas once he got to Mexico and shoot the movie that he wanted, and that's what he tried to do. But when Golan caught wind of this, he flew down to the resort and largely took over a lot of the shoot. You see, there was a certain actress in this movie, a tall blonde whom I won't name, but you can see on IMDb has appeared in many Cannon movies, but noticeably few others from other companies. And she's someone who I've been told was Menachem's mistress at this time, and so he had a personal interest in this particular film. So keep in mind now, Hot Chili was essentially the result of two filmmakers trying to make somewhat different movies, and their separate efforts not totally gelling together in the end when it comes together in the edits. In its best moments, Hot Chili is kind of crazy and unhinged. I think some of the imagery that's probably purely meant for TNA, like the naked music teacher playing the cello, they almost come off as surrealism to me. Like something you'd see in a Louis Buñuel movie. I think we'd have a far better movie if either just William Sachs or just Menachem Golan had been able to direct it. But as it is, with both of their ideas kind of jammed together and competing for screen time, it's a mess. I have to give the movie a 2 out of 5, as while it's definitely not a great film, in the realm of Cannon releases, there are certainly many worse ones, and I need to leave room to have lower ratings for those. And with that, Austin Trunick signing out. See you guys next month. If there is a next month after Hot Chili.
Well, he's not wrong about that.
Yeah, that's true.
This has me rethinking everything. Yeah, he made a lot of good points there. A lot of things we probably wouldn't be able to dig out. So we, as always, we appreciate Austin coming on our Cannon Fodder episode. I think our next Cannon Fodder is in the month of August. I'm looking ahead. Yeah, it's episode 122 on August 22nd. So you'll hear more from Austin by then. We also want to have him on again, like we've talked about before, because Volume 2 of the Cannon Film Guide just came out back in May. So we told him we'd have him on again. So hopefully soon we will have him on for that. So there you go. So I guess some of the background information before we get into the meat of the matter here. I found 3 separate titles for this movie. The working title was Hot Summer. So just as good as Hot Chili, I guess. Honestly makes more sense. Because, you know, I'm sure Hot Chili is kind of confusing. Like, what the fuck are they talking about? Are they talking about a hot bowl of chili? Like, you know, chili beans? Or are they talking about chilies from Mexico, like hot peppers. Is that what they're talking about? I don't know what they're referring to, but either way.
I think they are referencing hot peppers because shit, I don't remember the characters' names because I was just trying to watch a movie and just so I can be done with it.
Just trying to get through it.
Yeah, I was just trying to get through it. But the title was mentioned a couple of times that
I remember they're sitting there eating soup.
First.
They're eating soup or something like that, right? And then they say something like, "Oh, you liking your hot chili soup?" or something like that.
It was, from what I recall, it happened the first few minutes of the movie where they're walking past the pool and they see all these, all the ladies out there.
Yeah.
So I remember.
Real memorable moments. But anyways, the working title was Hot Summer. Another title I found in Italy, it was just called Tropicana Cabana Hotel. So it's more of like, well, this is where they're at, so let's just call it that. And then the another title was in Argentina, was called Salsa Picante. Smokey, I think you actually shared the poster with us like offline right before we did this.
Yeah, and it's just the cello scene.
Yeah, it's just the naked cello player, and it says Salsa Picante on it. There were a couple other random titles, but those basically roughly translate into hot chili or of some such. So. It was released June 1st, 1985 by Cannon Films, distributed by Cannon Film Distributors. So it's full on Cannon here. It's rated R, of course. Total runtime, 1 hour, 26 minutes. That's about an hour and 26 too long. And it was filmed in Mexico, as we talked about previously. It was directed by William Sachs, who would be best known for directing South of Hell Mountain, The Incredible Melting Man, and he actually produced Leprechaun, which we talked about all the way back in episode 26, and Exterminator 2. That was another one that he was. I think he had produced that one as well. It was written by William Sachs and Menachem Golan, as Austin just talked about, and Menachem Golan wrote it as Joseph Goldman. It stars Charlie Stratton as Ricky. This was his first film. He was also in Summer Camp Nightmare, which ironically would play well here on Camp Spookshow, right? That movie Munchies, and he was the writer-director of a movie that just came out like in the last 10 years or so with Elizabeth Olsen called In Secret. Alan Kazar as Jason. This was actually his first film as well. He would be best known as he was in the movie Night of the Creeps. For our listeners would probably recognize him from that. But he was also Bubba in Mama's Family. The later seasons of the show Mama's Family. Joe Rubo as Arnie. He only did, best I could tell, I think it was on IMDb. He only did 3 movies: The Last American Virgin, I can't remember the other one, and this one. Ironically, I've already seen 2/3 of the guy's work then, because The Last American Virgin and this. I just watched the other one, and I've seen the entire Joe Rubo filmography. Chuck Hemingway.
Cross that off your list.
Yeah. That's on my bucket list. I promise you. Go ahead and put it in the bucket and toss it out the window. Chuck Hemingway as Stanley. He would be best known from My Science Project and Neon Maniacs. Unfortunately, he passed away in June of 1996 at the age of 32. I'm going to say it's Taffy, Taaffe. Taff or Taffy. Let's go with Taffy O'Connell as Bridget. She was in New Year's Evil, which we talked about earlier this year on episode 89. And she was also in the movie Galaxy of Terror. And, of course, as Austin mentioned earlier, Robert Zadar as Bruno. This was his second film that he'd ever done, but he would be best known for the 3 Maniac cop movies. He was the star of those. Really, that's all the background type of stuff I have between that and what Austin went through. I mean, did you guys have anything else to add before we dive in?
No, there was very little that I could find. At least, now I will say that I didn't do as much digging because I know we have Austin at the helm for that. And shit, he's the best source there is.
Yeah. You're probably not going to find too many that know as much about Cannon movies as
exactly
old Austin. So yeah, it's hard to trump him.
Hurry, step right this way, folks, for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, taste-tempting candies of finest quality. Enjoy popcorn exploded into tender, delicious, crispy bites of crunchy goodness. Enjoy the tops in cool, refreshing soft drinks. If you want to enjoy some refreshments, this is your opportunity. There will now be a short intermission.
For you, the listeners of the All-American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So, as per usual, we'll go over to Audible, and I just typed in hot chili just to see what will pop up. And, of course, stuff about the Red Hot Chili Peppers pops up. Fornication, the Red Hot Chili Peppers story by Jeff Apter. That one's 15 and a half hours long. There's a book by Flea. Charles Picante, Sobra Red Hot Chili Peppers. That might be like a podcast or something, I think. I'm not sure what that is. Listen Up. Recording music with Bob Dylan, Neil Young, U2, R.E.M., The Tragically Hip, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Tom Waits. By Mark Howard, Chris Howard. That one's about 7.5 hours long. So, yeah. You just type in hot chili, and that's probably what you're going to see is things related to Red Hot Chili Peppers. But there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I'm sure we're all fans of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So there's that. So if you're a fan of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, because let's face it, that's more entertaining than this movie, run over to Audible, audibletrial.com/spookshow for your free audiobook. So let me go ahead and something we've been doing recently here is where I just go over to IMDb and I read the plot summaries. That kind of gets us through the movie, and especially more appropriate here because we don't want to have to dive deep into this movie any more than just our discussion about it. So the plot summary over on IMDb reads, and this is by Ed Sutton over on IMDb. A group of American teenage boys goes south of the border to work for the summer at a Mexican resort. There they encounter many wacky guests and have zany adventures involving a German dominatrix, a music teacher that gets hot when giving lessons, a buxom cook, and an uptight socialite that eventually thaws. More often than not, they end up in bed with someone, but one of the teens is holding out for true love. So thanks to Ed Sutton for that one over on IMDb. That pretty much sums it up, though, really. I mean, that's the slightly more funnier version of that movie, I believe, because the comedy that they lay out here is not all that great.
Misses the mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do we start? Do we start with Senor Esteban Rodriguez Cortez the Turd? Or
I think, you kind of have to start with
yeah. Yeah, he's their boss.
Is that 6?
Yeah. Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 counting Senor. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think it's actually like the joke is like he's saying the third, right? But it's the turd. So
the turd.
Yeah. So that was the joke. And that's where the comedy ends because that was the funniest part. The rest is just terrible. I mean, like really, honestly, dude, this movie. If you wanted a porno, just go watch a porn, right? Like what the fuck, Because that's basically what this feels like. It's like this is a porn with less story than most porns I've seen. At least
they definitely supposed to be a sex comedy. The comedy aspect totally, besides deterred, is totally lacking.
I mean, there are a couple of funny things, but it's more like what the fuck, kind of like, for instance, when they're having sex. When Arnie's having sex with Chi-Chi in the deep freezer, and then they come back and then they're just frozen.
Yeah. And then what was he going to bust them apart with with a tool of some kind? Didn't he have a sledgehammer?
I think a hammer. I think he just hits them with a hammer.
That, like whenever they're up to their shenanigans, like there's this almost kind of like freaking Jack in the Box, like fucking cartoony music in the back, like like what the fuck? What was the point of that?
There's really not even a plot to this movie.
There's not.
It's more like it's an excuse to go from scene to scene. It's more of a free flowing thought process than it is a plot. It's just like, well, how do we get from this sex scene to the next sex scene? That's all they cared about, and even then, there's not even really much thought put into it. It's just like, well, fuck it, let's just cut to the next scene. All 4 of these boys are having sex, except for the nerdy one. I forgot his name.
Oh, I don't know. He does.
Eventually,
he delivers this line. That's
yeah. When do I get to fuck? He's just a whiny bitch the whole movie. Everybody's getting the fuck but me. And then eventually, and you knew the way it was going to play too, because there's this whole 10-minute scene that plays out with him, like following this tall blonde chick around.
And she always
where she's just berating him, like, you've got us lost, and they're just walking around the hotel and the one zany situation after another. And you knew it was eventually going to lead up to, like, him having sex with her. And, spoiler alert, he does. In one of the worst sex scenes put to film, I think. It's not even really like fake sex. It's just them dancing around naked, right? Or no, that's when he has sex with the music teacher.
Yeah.
That's the first time he has sex, teacher. And then eventually he gets with that lady that like slaps him. I told you not to talk to me. Pow! She keeps smacking him. Ugh. How about the old cowboy couple? The guy with the cowboy.
He just leaned over and threw his back out.
She, like Austin said it correctly. It's and like he said, he wasn't even reading the plot synopsis for this movie. That was another one. But it's like either they are really hot chicks or they're just sex maniacs, just running around in this hotel, and like they're just having a field day. Except for the one guy. Well, I think the one guy. I'm completely blanking on names because none of it matters. The main guy, Ricky. He actually like ends up falling in love right with some chick, that comes to the hotel where for some reason her mom doesn't want them together. None of that is explained. Obviously, who cares? But I don't think they ever give a particular reason why she doesn't want her daughter to date this guy, right? Other than the fact that he works at the hotel, I guess.
I guess it was a class thing, right? Yeah. Like she's like rich or something.
It must have been, but. I think even before that girl that he falls in love with arrives, I think he has sex with one of the guests or something, right? And then eventually, like, oh, she shows up, and now, like, I got to go after her. So that's your kind of like serious love story going on with this thing, if there is such a thing in this movie. But really, to me, it's about the characters. Like I said, the old couple that just talk dirty to each other because she's wanting to screw and stuff. So she's got like a suitcase full of sex toys and shit like that. And he's wearing a cowboy hat and he throws his back out. He's a zany character. You've got the guy deterred that is the boss. So he's another kooky character. You've got the guy Bruno, Robert Zadar, who is he a limo driver? Whatever the fuck he was, right?
Yeah.
It's just one stupid character after another, including the Nazi.
Yeah. Nazi.
That was the husband of the which one? The one with the sex toys. Is that was the German woman, the dominatrix?
There was a dominatrix, but then there was the old woman that had a bunch of sex toys who was like Mr. and Mrs. Houston. The guy with the cowboy hat. That's who they were.
Which one was it? Was it the dominatrix or was it her that pulled out the? I guess it was supposed to be a dildo or it was a water gun. You little boys like this. She pulls it out and then squirts them with water out of the end of it or whatever. Apparently, it was just a water gun, but...
Sorry, I'm getting choked on the bullshit.
I don't remember which one that was. That could have been the dominatrix, or it could have been that. Yeah. I don't know.
Either way.
Either one.
Yeah. I think this guy actually is like an ex-Nazi or something, right? At least that's the way they kind of... He keeps running away from him.
They keep calling, they allude to that, but then when he pulled out that pistol, the Walther P-38, I'm like, I guess he's supposed to be a Nazi.
Yeah, I think he's an actual Nazi. For some reason, he just chases Arnie, Joe Rubo's character around. What does he call him, Salami Boy or something like that?
Yes.
He just keeps chasing him around. At one point...
There's your salami boy.
At one point toward the end, Arnie's he's running around and he's trying to hide from him, and then he just, all of a sudden, he just dresses like a woman and he's dancing up on the stage. Like, what the fuck? Like,
there's no
rhyme or reason to any of this. It's just a stream of consciousness. It just keeps going. And, well, how do we get to the next zany thing or the next sex scene? It's just, it makes no sense. I guess, look, it was 1985, right? We can. I don't know
if this is. I don't know. Austin mentioned about the Israeli films. What was it? The lemon
popsicle movies.
Lemon popsicle. But I don't know. I haven't seen any of those.
No.
So if this is just that type of comedy, like it's a Israeli thing, and it's applied to. They tried to apply that same type of style to Cannon films in America. Some of these comedies, and it just didn't like translate.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd say the best example of the ones that I've seen. I haven't seen Lemon Popsicle, but I've read enough and know enough about it, from the documentary about Cannon and everything. Obviously, that was successful there, so they wanted to try to replicate that. But I think the best example that they actually pulled off, although it's different, was The Last American Virgin. Because I think that was an actual, like, almost shot-for-shot remake of one of those Lemon Popsicle movies. That is one that I know we will get to on Cannon Fodder eventually. That one's pretty good, but it's fucking dire toward the end of it. There's some pretty heavy subjects for that kind of movie in that one. I'd much rather be talking about that movie than Hot Chili, but that's not what we're here to talk about. But yeah, anyways, God, what more really do we need to drag out for Hot Chili here?
Oh man,
the ending, just the whole ending. What the fuck? All right, none of that had any prior connection to anything that happened before it. They're just like, well, the whole resort decided to take a field trip to a bullfight.
Well, I mean, they were like, well, we're in Mexico. What's Mexico known for? Bullfights.
Yeah.
Just like, okay. Well,
so what about what led right up to that? Ricky's sister, who I'm blanking on her name. Who cares? She's just going around filming everybody like the previous night having sex. She's pulling out like a fucking old school film camera, and just filming everybody like in compromising positions or whatever. And then like the next morning at breakfast, she just plays the video and everybody's like slapping each other. Ricky's dad had sex with some chick, then she gets mad. Then it shows video of Ricky's mom having sex with some, like the guy that works at the hotel. So then, they're all even. So I guess they're all good.
Was there also an implication of Robert Zadar and Deterred?
Yeah, I'd say it was more than an implication. Pretty much, I guess that was as far as they wanted to go with anything gay at that point. It was like, well, like he kind of like walks up and got a light. Yeah, I've got one in here, and then they get in the back of the limo and he lights up a cigar. Like that was it. But for some reason, she films that, and then she shows it the next morning, and then like he's just as embarrassed, like, oh no, even though it didn't show anything. He just ay.
Smoking a cigar.
Yeah. Oh shit, you got me. This is bad. This is altogether just bad. Yeah. But we have to give a rating. We have to do the Cannonball rating. Now, like I said, Will isn't here. We'll get his ratings later on, and we'll see what he has to say about it. I seriously doubt it's going to be any better than what we have to say about it. But we'll put those off for now. But Smoke, we'll go to you first. We'll let you take the first shot out of the cannon today.
Well, I mean, there's so many negatives about this movie. What are the positives? We already mentioned about the only comedy aspect is Deterred. There's a mild comedy here and there, but there's no real story. Nothing linking. The only thing, as you said, linking them together is one sort of sex scene to another with the bare minimum of a plot device.
Yeah.
You have the setting at the resort, and I'm sorry, right? Trying to find the best. There's the credits, right?
And even the opening credits, by the way, that's a straight rip of National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yeah, true.
The postcards and everything.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about what Austin Trunick said too. About one thing he said is that there are so many other. You didn't want to give it too low of a rating because there are so many other ones out there that are worse. I've seen a shitload of Cannon movies. I definitely, by no means have I seen them all. And so I don't think I've seen some of these other shitty ones that he's mentioned yet. Not yet.
I can think of one that I'm not even going to say. I can think of one that might be worse than this. But like you said, I haven't seen even half the library, obviously. So yeah, who knows? But I know of at least one that I think I might actually want to watch Hot Chili more than this one I'm thinking of. But yeah, it's pretty bad.
I know the one you're thinking of.
I don't know. Maybe.
No, I know.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm going to go, just because I'm going to leave a little bit of wiggle room. I'm not going to go quite as high as Austin did, I don't think, but I'll leave a little bit of wiggle room for the time that we do get to some of the apparently even shittier movies. So I'll go with 1.25.
Man, hard to argue it. But Donnie, you're going to get first crack to argue it. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The thing about this movie is that I avoided it for so long.
You mean after we had decided we were going to watch it?
Yeah, after we decided, which we decided how many weeks ago?
Yes, sometime.
It's been a bit.
In the early June or something, yeah.
Yeah, so I avoided this for as long as I possibly could. And we were, going to record it tonight. And here it is. I just finished the movie probably like a couple of hours ago. But I started watching. I watched it in like 20-minute spurts because that's about all I could do because I was working too, but I was like, fuck. And then, yeah, anyway.
That's the best way to that's the best way to watch any movie really, but particularly this one is in 20-minute chunks when you can fit it in.
No. See, I prefer to sit down and watch it, but this was a movie I couldn't do it. It was all over the place. It was fucking dreadful. But with that sliding Cannon scale, it's kind of like a different scale, but
it is. It's entirely different in my opinion. Yeah.
And it's I'm gonna have. Oh man, because I hear Smoke's point and I hear Austin's point. I disagree with Austin's rating, but also.
What did he say? 2?
Yeah, he said 2.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of Cannon movies, but man, I know there are some bad ones out there, but I want to give this one its due as well because this one sucked. Oh man, I'm gonna say, and I'm probably being generous here. I'm gonna go a little bit lower than Smoke, and I'm gonna give it a full cannonball. And I may even change that rating, but currently.
Well, yeah, there's always the 4th anniversary show where if you feel like you have wronged the universe, you can go back and back and change it. Yeah, I'm going to agree. I'm going to go 1. Just 1 singular cannonball. That's all I can give.
Yeah.
And that's even taking into account that I know there's at least one that is worse than this. That just means that one's going to get a lower rating. That's all. To me, that's all it means. This movie sucked. I don't want to watch it again. There's little redeeming quality. I know Smoke, like we always try to do, you try to find something.
Yeah.
There's not much. Not even the soundtrack. I mean, the soundtrack even sucks. And they even use songs from other Cannon movies. Like, they didn't even bother to, really make it an entirely original thing. It's just, what was that song that we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, it's called Body Shop. And they
Body
use
Shop.
That Ninja 3, The Domination, Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo, this movie, and Hot Resort use that song. It's like a Cannon staple.
Yeah, well, I guess they paid for it, so fuck it. We're just going to keep using it, right?
Yeah.
They just didn't have Living in a Box. Is that what you said earlier?
Yeah.
And that's
also, don't think you can find Body Shop on Spotify. Trust me, I looked already for it. It's not there.
Yeah, even Spotify didn't want to have anything to do with that.
I mean, they do have Living in a Box on Spotify and other services.
Yeah, but to be fair to that song, that was somewhat of a radio hit, right? So, not Body Shop.
Living in a Box is a fun song. It's if you like 80s music, you'll like it. And now Body Shop is just... It fits the Cannon bill. It definitely fits the Cannon bill,
Yeah.
It's a cheap song.
But the point is, the soundtrack isn't even all that great. There's a couple songs that hey, that's funny, it sticks out, but that's it. So there's not many redeeming qualities here. There's a couple of gags that are kind of funny, but otherwise, even they clearly didn't even know how to end this. They're just like, fuck it. Have everybody run at the camera.
Yeah.
After the bullfight. And then they showed the crew, too. It's just like, hey, here's all the stars running at the camera. Now here's all the guys that fucking made this movie, and then they're all running at the camera. And they're all running down the street with, carrying the equipment, and then it just freezes on Joe Rubo. The end, he got away from the bull. What the? Even they were just we don't know how to end this. Just fuck it. Let's everybody run down the street.
exactly what they probably happened. They're like, no, there's no ending.
And as soon as they said cut, everybody get out of the hotel. You're done. They filmed that on the way out. Like they probably already had their luggage packed in the plane or whatever, or in a bus. So yeah, there we go. Like we'll see what Will has to say about it, but it looks like on average we're probably going to get about a 1.5 stars out of this if you average all of it up, because I doubt Will's going to be any higher than those. So
Cannonball and a half.
I'm sorry, yeah, Cannonball and a half. It's probably about as good as we're going to give it in the consensus. All right, so before we completely check out of the Tropicana Cabana Hotel and move on to bigger and better things, Donnie?
Cannon Connections.
Well, yeah, just I guess kind of no surprise here on the crew side. Golan Globus, they tie back to our previous. We've got this is actually the 5th Cannon Fodder episode, and this ties back to New Year's Evil, 10 to Midnight, Over the Top, and Invasion USA. And I just misspoke a little bit ago. This is not the 5th Cannon Fodder. This is the 5th Cannon movie.
Yeah.
This is actually the third
Cannon Fodder, like official.
Third Cannon Fodder.
But you kind of have to count those other Cannon movies that we did too, because it's not like we're going to go back and watch those again just for Cannon Fodder's sake. So yeah. Kind of have to count those as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's on the crew side, and then also on the cast side. We've got Taffy O'Connell and Louisa Moritz. They were both in New Year's Evil, played Sally and Jane. Flo Lawrence was a waitress in Over the Top. So.
Yeah, none of those are surprising. I mean, because Cannon did kind of keep things in the family, so to speak. Like they used writers, directors, and cast members over and over again in a lot of their movies. So yeah, I'd say anytime we do the Cannon connections, it should be fairly easy for you to find a connection. Even past Golan and Globus.
Yeah,
should be fairly easy.
Ultimately, I would like to kind of find somebody else, but in this movie, it was just like nobody. It was clear no one wanted to be a part of it. So, I'm just kidding.
I'm surprised any of these are actually credited. They should all be uncredited roles.
That'd be Alan Fitch. Every role played by Alan Fitch.
Yeah, no one wants to be remembered on their IMDb page for Hot Chili.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for Joe Rubo, he only did 2 other movies. So yeah, that's on his IMDb tombstone, so to speak.
Brutal.
So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and whatever's left over in the bowl, we're gonna go ahead and toss it in the sink. Toss it in the trash, and we're gonna move on from Hot Chili. So that's it for this Cannon Fodder. So next week we go back to the regularly scheduled programming of horror movies. This time it's Smoke's choice in the rotation, and he chose Madman from 1981. So this is one that we're definitely looking forward to. This was one that I hoped that one of us would choose for Camp Spook Show here this summer. So I'm glad really Smokey did this one. The IMDb synopsis for it is very simple. A legendary psychopathic murderer stalks a summer camp. That could also describe any Jason movie, or at least the ones that have something to do with summer camp, blah blah blah. But yeah, you get the point. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. This is a classic summer camp slasher flick. So we got to The Burning, and now we're getting to Madman. So we're knocking a couple big ones out of the way this summer here on Camp Spook Show. So look for that wherever you get your podcast next week. That is episode 117. So be sure to find that. So yeah, I guess that's it. Hopefully, like I said, we'll get Will's thoughts on Hot Chili. Or he might just say, you know what, I hate it. I'm not going to talk about it. You never know. we need the score just so we know how many official cannonballs that the Spook Show is giving it. So we'll get his thoughts, get his rating and everything. Hopefully next week, if not soon. Whenever he gets back on. So yeah, really that's it. Camp Spook Show rolls on. So for Will, Donnie, Professor Smoke, I'm Josh. We are the All American Spook Show podcast, and we will talk to you next week.
It's now 9:30. And that's lights out time. 9:30, as you know. Tomorrow is Parents' Day, and you must look rested or Morty will be sent to the state penitentiary.